Call of Duty has been around since as long as I've been, honestly. And we've had games all the way from Call of Duty 4 to Modern Warfare to where we are now with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2022. So today, in the Apollo show, we're going to be ranking all of these Call of Duties in my personal opinion. And yeah, welcome to the Apollo show. Alright, guys, welcome back to the Apollo show, the weekly show here on the Apollo channel. Apollo show, TAS, whatever you guys want to call it. We're here every week, every Sunday at 1:30, alright? And we're going to be talking about Call of Duty once again. We'll probably be talking about Halo next week, but I'm not sure yet, so stay posted. Might even be the new Fortnite Live event, whatever's going on. So I don't have as many notes this time because I wanted to just kind of see how this goes, like free flow style, just talk about whatever. So today we're going to be talking about Call of Duty and ranking them, okay? So this is really kind of difficult for me because I played basically every single Call of Duty since Call of Duty 4, and I even played Call of Duty 3, but I do not remember any of it, I was like 4. So, yeah, we're just going to be ranking all of these. If for whatever reason my opinion offends you, that's okay. Just remember it's a video game at the end of the day, so don't get too heated about it. All right. So we're gonna kind of be doing this by a ranking on a scale of 1 to 10, and I might even edit in like what was the lowest scoring Call of Duty in my opinion, and what was the highest scoring Call of Duty. And yeah, so first things first, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Okay. This game's a classic, kicked off the whole Call of Duty franchise and put it into the mainstream audience, okay? So, for me, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, it basically perfected the 6v6 formula to a T. So, I'd probably honestly rank it like a 9 out of 10, okay? This game was almost perfect, okay, almost. The campaign was really good, and then the multiplayer had some of the best maps ever. It still had like that arcadiness to it. Like it wasn't like Modern Warfare 2019 where it was like super slow, super tactical. And yeah, so they came out swinging and then they hit, right. They changed the whole market. They gave us what became kind of an oversaturated market, low key, with how many people were trying to replicate what they accomplished in Call of Duty 4. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. There were still some things like stopping power rounds and all the perks were a little busted, but some of them they countered each other, so I guess it's kind of balanced a little bit. But as of right now, that's our starting point, 9 out of 10. Okay, World at War. All right, World at War. I'm going to give an 8 out of 10, only because they returned right back to the World War II setting. However, the only reason that this isn't lower than 8 out of 10 is because they did it so freaking well, okay? So if you go back and you look at, like, we'll get to Vanguard later in the video, but if you compare Call of Duty Vanguard's campaign to Call of Duty Modern Warfare, or World at War, there's this huge downgrade in storytelling, just appreciating what was actually going on at that time. And even in the multiplayer, dude, like you go back there, those announcers are so into it. Like the Japanese announcer speaks Japanese and is like screaming, and it makes you get hyped to play this game. And then you go and play the campaign. The campaign has one of the most memorable characters of all time, Victor Reznov. You guys wake up in the middle of Stalingrad. Like that is how you do a World War II game. They didn't even have like D-Day or anything. They covered the Pacific side of the war, and then they covered the like the Russian and German part of the war. And they it's so brutal, it's so artistic. If you go back and look at it, it really is like this just whole, you could study it for how well they appreciated and honored that history of World War II. So it's really good. You go back, you look at like the cutscenes for the missions. They combine real world footage with like animated projects, so it feels like you're going through history. And then, not to mention, this is the beginning of Zombies, one of the staples of the franchise now, that it has been played or remade in multiple games by different companies. It changed the whole game. And yeah, the only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 is just because the World War II setting, you know, everyone was like, oh my god, the modern setting is so cool, and then they went right back to World War II. That's the only reason why, but however, that might be a little nitpicky, so just however you feel about that, that's how you feel about it. But yeah, so we're going to move on now to Modern Warfare 2, back in the day, OG Modern Warfare 2. Now, on the fun scale, this game ranks high, okay? But on the busted scale, it also ranks high. However, I think this game, it's got to be a 9.5 out of 10, dude. They took everything that was so good in Modern Warfare and ranked it up through the wall. Campaign, it's bigger. It's got bigger set pieces. It's got one of the most memorable missions of all, some of the most memorable missions of all time, right? You've got the betrayal of Ghost and Roach, one of the worst, heartbreaking moments of all time. And that's back, those characters weren't even written that well. And it was still a heartbreaking moment to see General Shepard, you know, betray the characters like that. But then, if you go in, they have the No Russian mission, right? No Russian creates this whole debate around, this game is encouraging mass shootings, blah, blah, blah. But, however, even though, yeah, sure, I can understand and see that, it's a pretty dark moment, I'm not gonna lie. But if you go back and look at it, if that moment doesn't happen, the whole story doesn't happen. Right? That is what initiates the whole Russian invasion in the US in that game, is that whole shooting there, because your character is a American soldier, and that's why he says no Russian, because he's not a Russian, right? That's the whole thing about it. And but you know, that goes over everybody's head. It becomes a whole debate. Oh, these games make you more violent, blah blah blah. Luckily, you know, we've done enough studies to know that that's false. People just try and use that to get out of things. But yeah, so arguably one of the best campaigns of all time. The scale of everything was through the roof. However, you know, the levels were a bit repetitive, but that was just something Call of Duty had. You know, it was just, you just shoot at stuff. You're just there to see what happens. Then they bring in Spec Ops, which was huge. Spec Ops was huge. One of the best co-op things of all time. Going and grinding to get those 3 stars, it was awesome. And then you had the multiplayer, so many broken things, but they were all so fun. You had the dual-wield shotguns that could just freaking shoot super far as if they were snipers if you just kept spamming the triggers. And then you had stuff like the ACR was one of the greatest ARs of all time. This was big stuff, right? And then you had it was just good multiplayer, right? That's all I can sum it up to. However, if you look at the technicality of it, yes, it was a little broken, but Infinity Ward was also going through a huge lawsuit at that time, so you kind of got to cut him a little bit of slack. So overall, 9.5 out of 10. Moving on, Call of Duty Black Ops. Okay, this game, I'm gonna have to give it only a 9 out of 10. Okay, here's why. All right, the campaign is perfect, right? There's nothing. One of the best stories of all time, one of the best twists of all time. They really delve into that whole Cold War era, freaking sleeper agent stuff. It's cool. I'm not gonna knock it for that at all. The zombies, what I'll say, Kino der Toten should have been in World at War. You had that very simplistic map thing. However, you know, it's one of the most memorable maps of all time. My issue with the zombies in Black Ops 1 is the Pack-a-Punch weapons they're kind of dog water. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but if you go back and try and use them, no matter what guns you get off the wall or through the box, if you Pack-a-Punch it, it's not really going to be that good. However, still they're really good zombies. They took what they had in World at War and escalated it so far, which is why it's still getting a 9. And then the multiplayer was still really good. However, it's still it wasn't perfecting the formula. You know, they did bring in gold camo, that was one of the best gold camos of all time. However, all you really need to do was prestige. There weren't the weapon challenges yet. But yeah, still great game. 9 out of 10. If someone were to say that this is their favorite game of all time, favorite Call of Duty game, go ahead. I'm not gonna try and argue with you at all. I would even say you could probably convince me to believe why it's such a good game. But yeah, we're gonna move on now. Modern Warfare 3. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Okay, only because they did exactly what Modern Warfare 2 did in its multiplayer, except they balanced everything. And a lot of people didn't really like that. Me personally, I really liked the multiplayer, but it just felt like more of Modern Warfare 2, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it was still like it was still good, right? The campaign, probably my favorite Call of Duty campaign. It's up there, right? You have the moment where Soap dies, and they're like, "Oh my God, Yuri knows Makarov," and then, "Oh my God, no!" Price pushes you down the stairs. It's a whole epic moment. Like, that was pretty good. However, the I don't know. It just felt like more Modern Warfare 2. Like they didn't innovate quite as much as like the Modern Warfare 2, the Modern Warfare 1 to Modern Warfare 2 jump did. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's still a good game, which is why I'm still gonna give it an 8 out of 10. If someone said that this was their favorite game, whatever. If they said a favorite campaign, oh yeah, for sure. Whatever floats your boat, man. But just not my favorite game overall. That brings us then to Black Ops 2. Okay, this, in my opinion, is a perfect game. Okay, 10 out of 10. All right. Now you might be in the comments, what? No way. This can't be true. Whatever. Okay, let's start with this. You had the first ever gold camo, right? You had the next gold camo, right? So they had taken the gold camo, brought in the challenges system. And you have all these camos you can get for your guns through challenges. Then you have the gold camo, and then if you get all of a class gold, all of your ARs, all your SMGs, you get diamond, right? And the diamond in this game has I don't think a diamond has really ever came close to it, if I'm being honest. It was perfect. It was the best diamond camo of all time, and that's why I think it was so good, right? But it's more than just the camos. In my opinion, Black Ops 2's campaign it flies over people's heads because the choices you make in that game matter, and people will, like, when Cold War came out, everyone was like, "Oh my God, the choices I make matter now." It's like, yes, but it was done before, and even though it wasn't in such a pick your dialogue options, you can ask questions, whatever, it wasn't done like that. However, it still was a pretty good pick your own story system because it was the little decisions you make that influence things, right? So if you, for example, you have to kill one of your soldiers in the one mission where you're undercover, okay? And I forget his name. I think it was Hendrix, or that might be the next game. I forget his name, okay? I'm not gonna lie. But you're playing as this, Middle Eastern dude who's undercover, and Menendez is like, "Oh, you either gotta shoot him or you're not a part of the group." And if you don't kill him, that guy dies, but then the lady who you need to prevent the cyber attack at the end of the game dies. So if you kill the guy, Harper was his name. If you kill Harper, then the whole game's like, okay, the Middle Eastern guy lives, but then he takes the bullet for the girl later in the story. So he still dies, but she doesn't, right? And then at the end of the game, if you kill Menendez, this huge cyber attack happens, and the world basically gets cooked, right? But if you keep him alive, and she is alive, then he stays in jail. And then it was just crazy, right? There were so many different options. That's not even all of it. Like the moment where you can kill Woods, or where you can kill Mason or keep him alive, all depends on where you shoot him in the body. Like that was a good moment. But yeah, so that takes us now to Call of Duty. Oh wait, I didn't even talk about the zombies. Oh my God, Black Ops 2 Zombies is one of the best and worst zombies of all time, which is why I appreciate it so much. Because you have the map like Transit, where the whole zombies community kind of agrees it's a terrible map. I think it was fun to play with your friends. However, it wasn't fun at all to try and I'm gonna play this solo. You were a madman. But that whole map turned into the little sections is one of the best things of all time. Town is one of the best survival maps of all time. You really had some of these amazing maps hidden in there. And then you go on, DLC 1 was Die Rise, one of the worst maps of all time. In my opinion, that almost made me take this game down from a 10 to a 9.5. However, you recover it with Mob of the Dead, one of the most iconic zombies maps of all time. And then you follow it up with Buried, one of the best zombies maps of all time. And you follow it up with Origins, and on top of that, you can get Nuketown zombies. It's a banger, right? This is arguably some of the best zombies, only second to maybe Black Ops 3. But now we move on to Call of Duty Ghost. A lot of people don't like Ghost. Okay. I'm going to give it, I don't think it was that bad. I'll give it a 7.5, alright? It's not perfect, right? Some people didn't like the story. I was one of those people that, I really liked the story, right? I want Call of Duty Ghost 2, Infinity Ward, Activision Blizzard, whoever. If you are watching this if you are watching this video, if you are watching the Apallah show right now, you need to make Call of Duty Ghost 2. If not a full game, I don't care. I don't care what happens. I just need the story finished. I need closure. You cannot leave us on that cliffhanger. We need part 2. At least, I'll tell you what. Sell me a campaign that is Call of Duty Ghost Part 2. I will buy it for $20, right? If not more, I'll buy it for $30, $40. Just let me finish this story. Alright, that's one of the high points of the game for me personally. And then I really didn't think Extinction was that bad. I know a lot of people didn't like Extinction. I thought it was a good try at something original. Don't get me wrong, I didn't really like that they were like hip level enemies, but I really thought it was creative. It was an interesting story in my opinion. They did really good jobs with making it easy to follow. The cinematics were all really good looking. It was really good. But then multiplayer is kind of like it was just the maps were too big. Every single map they tried to make it bigger than it should have been. They brought in Shipment and DLC 4 and they made it this map that opens up and becomes an even bigger map. Like you just had way too many big maps. But the Chem Strike is one of the coolest nukes of all time. The fact that some maps get changed by the Chem Strike is even cooler. And then you have like all these interactable things, like you can throw C4 at these logs and make them roll down. The one map takes place on a skyscraper and it falls in the middle of the game and you just keep playing. I really thought Ghost it could have been better, right? If the maps were just a little bit smaller, had a better flow, and then maybe maybe some things in the story, I think if you had more stealth missions in the story to kind of show how elite the Ghost dudes could be, I think this game would have been at least an 8, man, but 7.5 for me. Moving on. That brings us to Call of Duty Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Almost forgot about this game. But don't let that knock it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Multiplayer, let's talk this multiplayer. Never mind, I'm giving it a 7. The microtransaction system, absolute god awful. Those loot boxes plagued YouTube for years, right? From Advanced Warfare to Infinite Warfare, supply drop openings plagued YouTube and were one of the worst things to ever happen to the YouTube community because you could just buy views. That's what it was. People were like, oh, opening 100 elite supply drops. Those cost money. People would buy these things and they would open these supply drops and people would come in and watch it like a bunch of brain dead animals. And if a new cosmetic came out, I would look and watch somebody open it to see if they get the new cosmetic, and then they'd get it. Okay, cool, I just wanted to see what the cosmetic looked like, but that's it. I'm not going to just sit there and open it, or watch people open these boxes over and over again. They were just preying on, like, brain dead kids just coming in. Oh, I was born 2 days ago, I want to watch some guy open these boxes. Wow, this is so cool. Like, that's what they were preying on, right? And that's the whole YouTube side of it. I really want to try and separate that, but the loot box system promoted that, okay? The weapons were pay to win. You had, if you had a Ball 47, one of the most used ARs in the game, but it wasn't the Obsidian Steed Ball 47, then you're cooked. You're cooked. Because it's not going to be as good. The damage stats would be different. All these stats would be different. And the only way you could get supply drops was either through playing the game or buying them, right? And it was a lot easier to buy them than it was to just play the game and get them. And the ones you bought were better because they were elite supply drops, so you had a higher chance, right? And my god, it was a bad system, but it plagued what could have been a really good game. I think that I hear there's rumors of Advanced Warfare 2. I think I personally would love to play Advanced Warfare 2. I think the thing about the cosmetics that made me so mad is that they looked so cool, but there was no way of getting them by just grinding. Okay, unless you just wanted to play and hopefully get a supply drop every couple games. That's annoying, right? And the drip of these freaking cosmetics were so good. Like, you could turn into a clown, you could turn into like a deep sea diver. Just the whole exosuit thing, I think it looked really cool. I loved how you could go and look at other people's exosuits. It reminded me of like Halo Reach, where everyone's just dripped out and you can look at everybody's drip. Really, what holds it back is those supply drops, man. They were awful. And on top of that, selling DLCs, it was bad, right? That brings me to the campaign. It was okay. It wasn't like the worst thing I've ever played. I think the DNA bomb idea was pretty cool, but overall, whatever. Survival, okay? I think survival was one of the most mediocre modes of all time. It was just, like, it wasn't bad, but I'll tell you what was really cool was the way they introduced that they were bringing zombies, right? So they had, like, at the last level of the survival, it was like the prison or whatever, and you had to survive the whole time, and then a DNA bomb would come, and it would take out, like, all the enemies, but then it becomes, like, nighttime, and now there's zombies, and you have to get to this helicopter before they can get you. It was a cool cinematic moment. If you remember this reveal, it was crazy, right? That brings me to Advanced Warfare Zombies. Honestly, it's not the best or the worst zombies I've ever played, but it was okay, right? Like, there were too many special zombies. The exosuit kind of made it easy to train, but then once those electric zombies came in, like, if you got hit once, you were dead. Like, it was over. But yeah, that's why I'm giving this game, what'd I say, like a 7 out of 10. It wasn't bad. It really wasn't. It was just, I don't know. The supply drop system is really what held this game back, and that you had to sell DLC along with selling the supply drops. It was crazy. That brings me to Call of Duty Black Ops 3, right? Black Ops 3, okay, campaign, absolute garbage. The campaign was trash. That's one of the worst campaigns I have ever experienced in my life. And the fact that campaign is what we got to follow up Black Ops 2's banger campaign makes me sick. Okay? I watched a whole, like, hour-long video explaining what happened in the campaign because it was so stupid. Okay? It was trash. It was bad, okay? But moving on from the campaign, multiplayer. The multiplayer was fun. I think multiplayer took everything that was good about Advanced Warfare, made it better, and then even though they still had the supply drops, okay, I'm not going to defend supply drops at all, okay? Even though they still had them, I think, my personal opinion, that they did them way better than Advanced Warfare did, because all the guns in there, they might have been broken a little bit, but you could still just use the regular weapons and compete and do well. So I'm not going to knock the supply drops that much. Not as much as I did in Advanced Warfare, where they were literally pay-to-win stat boost guns, right? That brings me to the multiplayer gameplay in general. I think the maps were all really good. I liked the maps in Black Ops 3, and I liked the jetpacking system was way better than it was in Advanced Warfare. You could control how much you jetpack. They brought in wall running. It was cool. The specialist system is really it's not really a gripe, because I thought the specialists were cool, but getting free kills for using the freaking gravity spikes or war machine or whatever else, that was kind of stupid. But yeah, overall, Black Ops 3 multiplayer was okay. Alright, it was fun, gameplay-wise. I don't know why I'm being so negative. Just talking about Advanced Warfare really got me, dude. So, I'll say, let me think here. It was a good multiplayer. I really should stop hating. That brings me to Black Ops 3's Zombies. Arguably the best zombies, in my opinion. This is when it was perfect. It was all perfect. Not to mention you get Zombies Chronicles on top of some of the best maps of all time with Revelations, Gorod Krovi. Well, some people don't like Revelations. I personally thought Revelations was pretty good. You had Gorod Krovi, Shadows of Evil, one of the best maps of all time. You had The Giant, one of the greatest remasters of all time. You had, God, what was the first map called? That first map was amazing. And then you had Zetsabo, which, it was okay. But then you had, yeah, like I said, you had Gorod Krovi, which is one of the best maps of all time. And, God, what was that first map called? I'm looking it up right now, guys, on the mic. A live mic search right now. Black Ops 3 first DLZ zombie map. Dude, what was it called, bro? Let's see. Let's see what this YouTube video says. Horizon Drac. I can't believe it. I'm sorry, guys. If you want to call me an idiot in the comments, go ahead. Horizon Drac, one of the best maps of all time, and I forgot the name. But yeah, then you had Zombies Chronicles, brought all these maps into this engine. It was best zombies of all time. I'm gonna give this game a 8 out of 10. Campaign really holds it back, but the multiplayer is pretty good, and then Zombies gives it a lot of its points. That brings me to, I believe, Infinite Warfare. Hear me out here when I say Infinite Warfare is a 7.5, okay? I think the hate wagon going into Infinite Warfare was kind of ridiculous, in my opinion, okay? A lot of people didn't even give this game a chance to come out and really show what it was. So I'm going to give it, like I said, a 7.5. The multiplayer, it was fun. I think they even did the jetpacking and all that better than Black Ops 3 did. The Zombies was, in my opinion, one of the best ones done by people who weren't Treyarch. And then the campaign was actually interesting. It had a very good story system, the way you could pick your missions. They kind of did what Cold War did, where there's side missions you can do. And I thought it was good. It was a good ending, in my opinion. Wish it could have gotten more to it, but, it's whatever. They were trying to start their own new futuristic thing, and it didn't work. But yeah, multiplayer, the supply drops were trash again, and that's what holds it back a lot. And I really didn't mind the futuristic setting, really wasn't that bad, but 7.5 out of 10 is still a pretty good score, I'd say. That brings us to Call of Duty World War II. World War II, in my opinion, is actually one of the better games during this time, because this was what I would call the dark ages of Call of Duty, where it's just like, all those games were so, bad. They didn't want to try anything new, they just kept trying to do this jetpack thing, and World War II comes in and says, okay, let's take it back to boots on the ground, everybody wants that. I think what World War II suffers from, though, is that it only takes place in the Europe side of the war. There's no coverage of the Pacific side, which World at War kind of did better. However, I think the war mode in this game is amazing. They should just had more of the war mode. And then I also think that the Zombies was mid. Okay, the Zombies was kind of mediocre. They tried way too hard to do the whole horror thing, but the Zombies designs themselves was pretty cool. The multiplayer, it was fun. Personally, I thought it was okay. One of my more favored multiplayers, in my opinion. I spent a lot of time on this game. I don't know why. I think it was just enjoyable and fun to play by yourself or with friends. And yeah, campaign was kind of mid, but I'm gonna give World War II probably another 7.5. It was fun. They did the World War II thing better than Vanguard did, so I gotta at least give them a 7, And yeah, that brings us to Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4. I'm giving Black Ops 4 a 6, and I'm saying this as somebody who spent over 10 days on this game, okay? Multiplayer-wise, it wasn't that bad. They brought the specialist back, which a lot of people didn't really like, but I liked how you had to heal yourself. The healing thing was on a timer. It made you play a little bit more tactically. And then I liked the specialists having their own abilities and then having their weapons. I thought it was okay. Zombies was terrible. Absolutely one of the worst zombies I've ever played. However, you did get a few good maps. You got Ancient Evil. You have 9, the like Coliseum map. Blood of the Dead is one of the worst remakes of all time. I will never forgive Call of Duty for what they did there. And yeah, no campaign is also crazy. Blackout was kind of mid. A lot of people liked Blackout because it was kind of like a Call of Duty take on PUBG, and some people enjoy it. However, majority did not, and I'm part of that majority. I say this as somebody who was, I think, I just needed pistols and shotguns to get Dark Matter. This game is going to be getting a 6 out of 10 from me. That's it. Moving on, I believe that takes us to Modern Warfare 2019. Modern Warfare 2019, I really didn't play that much, if I'm being honest. If you look at my hours on Xbox, a lot of that was spent in Warzone, unfortunately. And yeah, I did get a few gold guns though. I thought it was fun, however, it was just way too slow. The Search and Destroy is awesome on it though, because it really feels like it was made for that. But yeah, the multiplayer, like Team Deathmatch and stuff like that, it was just way too slow. People were all so scared to move. Your character moved super slow. It was bad. I'll give it a 9. Okay, because it did bring Call of Duty back into like a good time period. A lot of people were playing it again, and it changed a lot of things. The campaign was a banger too. I forget what the mission's called, but the one where you're going through the house is one of the best missions of all time. So just, you're sitting there so worried about everything all the time. Really good job there. That kind of brings me to the Spec Ops, which I honestly forgot about, and Infinity Ward did too, because it was terrible. It was whatever. Like, it was way too hard on some of those missions, and then the other missions were way too easy. So yeah, the Spec Ops was mid, okay, but it's whatever. They were trying to bring it back. That's okay. Now, Warzone also came out with this game, so Warzone is kind of included in that because it takes place in the same engine. It was a huge announcement, whatever. I'll give Warzone an 8 out of 10, only because it was like, you know, the Battle Royale that came in and brought a lot of hype to Call of Duty, and it's whatever, right? I'm not hating on it, it's just, personally, it's not my biggest cup of tea. At least Warzone 1 wasn't. That takes us to Black Ops Cold War. Alright. A lot of people don't like Cold War, and I honestly don't know why, okay? Now, don't get me wrong, this game was a little buggy when it came out, right? And by a little, I mean very buggy, right? However, I think Cold War, given the 2 years that Treyarch was just throwing this game to make, they did a really good job with it. This game was all about, in my opinion, fun. They brought back a lot of the party modes. We had gun game was back. You had Sticks and Stones was back. This multiplayer was finally something fun. It wasn't a sweat fest, and I appreciated it for that. It was good. Zombies, it took what they were trying to do in Black Ops 4, made it better, ironed it out, sent it out. The Zombies maps were all good. Outbreak was okay. It was still fun. It was just not my biggest cup of tea. And the campaign, absolute banger. I love that they kind of took the choice thing and made it a little bit better than it was in Black Ops 2, because you were actively able to do whatever you wanted, right? You had dialogue options, you were your own character. I liked all that. I'm going to give the game a 9 out of 10 again, because these two games back to back were both really good. But a lot of people don't like Cold War. Whatever, all power to them. I liked it. I thought it took Black Ops 4 and made it way better and combined it with Modern Warfare. So I think it was a W game. Vanguard, also called Trash Guard. I'm gonna make this very clear. I think, I want to say 6 days played on this game. That's 6 days that I will never get back. You hear me? 6 days. 6 days I will never get back from this game. One of the worst Call of Duty games I've ever played. The multiplayer was an absolute brain dead shoot fest where you just spawn, you run forward, shoot at something, and if it dies, it dies. If you die, you die. You keep doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I played Search and Destroy on this game. This was one of the only Search and Destroy games where I felt like I wasn't upset after I died. I didn't care. And that is crazy to me personally. Because if you watch like my Search and Destroy video I just dropped yesterday, I'm very passionate about Search. I do not want to die, whatever. But in this game I didn't care. I did not care. The developers didn't care either. Campaign, absolute trash. One of the worst campaigns of all time. Okay. And I'm not saying that they need to be innovative, but how are you going to go from World at War, which is one of the best World War II campaigns of all time, World War II's campaign, which was okay, it was whatever. It wasn't the best campaign ever, but it still was pretty good. And then you go into Vanguard. No, it was bad. I don't know. You had scenes of like, oh my gosh, the whole 90% of the game is a flashback, and none of it is real world events. None of these people are real people, which is, it's whatever, right? It's whatever. But how are you going to introduce, oh my god, this is a fake Russian girl, and she killed Nazi. Her whole personality is she killed Nazi over and over and over again. That is Russian girl personality. That's trash. Dog water. You want to know why Reznov was better? Because Reznov, he was passionate about it, and you could have imagined that this dude was real, right? You could have imagined all these fights that they went to were real. It wasn't this fake crap. Oh my god, it was bad. It was terrible. They said, oh, these are new memorable characters. I can't name one of them. Maybe the Arthur Kingsley, the black dude. Okay, there you go. One guy. And they said, oh, there've never been memorable characters in a Call of Duty game. Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Are you dense? You literally have Captain Price is one of the most memorable characters of all time. That's why when he was announced in Modern Warfare 2019, everybody was like, oh my god, it's Captain Price, whoa! And then we got Ghost back, oh my god, whoa! But there's no memorable characters? Are you stupid? Whatever. That takes me to the zombies. Trash. Dog water. It was absolute trash. I cannot believe that this was made by Treyarch, but you can tell that they were dragged by the neck and said, okay, we know you just finished Cold War zombies, but it's time to get to work, boy. And they start, oh, you want a break? Nope. We're going to have you in here 80 hours a day, and you're going to make one of the worst zombie games of all time. And you're going to take multiplayer assets and just flip them and turn them into zombies because that's the best that you can do. Yes, sir. That's what they said. And they went in there, and they made the worst zombies of all time. Call of Duty Vanguard. Absolute trash. Multiplayer, I already said, was dog water. Oh, the whole game's trash. Throw it out. I'm giving Vanguard a 0 out of 10. I cannot believe I spent 6 days playing this game. Oh my god. 0. Trash. No respect for that game. That takes me to Modern Warfare 2. How does Modern Warfare 2 2022 follow up one of the worst Call of Duty games of all time by being one of the best in recent memory? If you go down to the core gameplay of this game, it is a banger. This is a fun game. It makes you care. You care about your stats. You care about your KD. You care how you do in search. The proximity chat in Warzone 2 it's phenomenal, okay? I'm just going to lump in Warzone 2 with Modern Warfare 2 because they're in the same engine, whatever. Modern Warfare 2 voice chat is just like how it was back in the day. You have proximity chat in Warzone now, which is awesome. This game doesn't miss. Spec Ops, they made it way better this time. The campaign is a banger, some of the best mechanics of all time. I'm going to give this game a 9.5 out of 10. Okay, that's how much I like it, and I hope that it's a good year for Call of Duty. I'll put the scores up on the screen right now as I do my outro. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of The Apallah Show. It's your boy Apallah, and I hope to see you guys here next week. And yeah, be sure to subscribe for more content. Hit that like button if you like the video. And the Apallah show is every Sunday at 1:30. And stay safe out there. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And I'll see you guys in the next one.